Hey, we can join the City of Wichita Falls City Council meeting. Hey, we can join this Falls City Council. Here. It's frustrating. I don't know who that is. We're just not going to let them in until we know. Oh, Bandera County got bumped too. They're coming back in.
Drive with it on.
Yeah, he does. We're the first recorded case of COVID for videos.
No way. God, I can't believe I see people driving with those things.
Yeah, Carly Chanel's a big one. I see her around Barney with a mask in the car.
God.
You can hear me in the jail. Mr. Miller will be first.
Yes, sir.
Carly, that's.
Then you're gonna be in Allison, Desmond, and Jasmine.
Thank you. If I sit way back here, everybody's clear.
Having a picnic for, there's a guy having a picnic by himself. With his mask on. Pull it down and take a bite.
Are you Mr. Miller?
Yes, sir.
Give me just a minute to catch up on the paperwork, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Oh, you ready? Court will call cause number CR 21-121, 122, and 123. The state of Texas versus Vernon Miller for purposes of arraignment would say the
Date's ready.
Defense is ready.
Mr. Black, have you had an opportunity to go through the indictments with your client?
Yes, sir, I have.
Are all the personal identifiers true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Does Mr. Miller desire to have any of the three indictments read in open court?
No, sir, we'll waive formal reading of the indictments and we'll enter a plea of not guilty in each case.
Thank you. The court will enter a scheduling order, Mr. Miller, in each of your cases. In each of your cases, your next scheduled appearance before the court will be November 15th. So we will see you back then. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Unless something comes up, we're just going to run straight down the list. I don't know who Kelly is. Or Ricio 3. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yes. For the attorneys that are on Zoom, if you have a client that for some reason is supposed to appear on Zoom and they're telling you they can't get in, please let me know what their moniker is, because I have 4 or 5 folks that I can't tell who it is. And I'm just not going to open it up until I'm notified.
It has something to do with the PDO office.
Why is Tammy getting on a different computer?
She's at her desk.
Not show up anywhere on
Mm-mm.
there. There we go. Ms. Denman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Court will call cause number CR 21-125, the state of Texas versus Allison Denman for purposes of arraignment. What say the parties?
State's ready.
Anthony Welsh for the defense, and we are ready.
Thank you. Mr. Welch, have you had an opportunity to go through the indictment with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Are the personal identifiers true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
They are.
Does your client desire to have the indictment read in open court?
We do not, Your Honor. We'll enter a plea of not guilty.
Thank you. Ms. Denman, the court will enter a scheduling order. Your next scheduled appearance before the court will be November 15th. If you're out on bond, it's at 8:30 in the morning. If you're not, we'll see you in the afternoon. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you, Your
sir.
Honor.
Thank you.
This one up is Zitus. John, is this going to be your case?
Yes, sir.
What, Tammy's camera's freaking out. Ms. Zayas,
Yes, sir.
am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Court will call cause number CR 21-181, the state of Texas versus Jasleen Zayas for purposes of arraignment. Would say the parties.
State's ready.
Bull for the defense. We're ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Bull, have you had an opportunity to go through the indictment with your client?
Yes, sir, I have.
Are their identifiers true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Does your client desire to have the indictment read in open court?
No, sir, we'll waive the reading of the indictment and enter a plea of not guilty.
Thank you. Ms. Zayas, the court will enter a scheduling order. Your next scheduled appearance before the court will be November 15th. If you're out on bond, it's at 8:30 in the morning, and if you're not, we'll see you in the afternoon. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
State parent isn't on, is he?
No,
So that's.
or not that I'm aware of, I'll put it that way. I don't know who that is, or that is, or that is.
And Mr. Saldana.
Well, is there anybody from the jail there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I do not have Mr. Parent online, so if you want to skip Luke Williams, you can.
Yes, Your Honor.
Saldana's not here, all right? All right.
Okay.
Are you still present in the jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
It looks like you can skip Crystal Anderson because Mr. Saldana is not on either.
Would you like Mr. Bradley Gibbs next?
Yes, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll throw him in for a fit. Excuse me.
I know Saldana has an iPhone.
Just call somebody and tell them that's who he is, Sam. I've seen all kinds of bloopers from across the state where you start letting people in that you don't know who they are. Mr. Black, can you hear me in the law library?
Yes, sir.
There we go. If I'm not mistaken, Kim Rainwater works in your office. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you know if she's covering a case this afternoon? I don't see her name on the docket, but she just showed up in the waiting room.
I'm confident that she is, Judge. I just don't know which one. She was on the capital murder case. So that may be why she's on. Mr. Bull stepped out.
Okay, well, I'm just going to leave her in the waiting room unless you tell me she needs to be let in.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Gibbs?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Court will call cause number CR 21-144, the state of Texas versus Bradley Gibbs for purposes of pretrial. What say the parties?
Date's ready.
Defense is ready, Your Honor.
Do we have any pretrial issues we need to address, counsel?
None from the state.
None.
Okay, our next scheduled pretrial will be October 4th. Mr. Gibbs, we'll see you back on October 4th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Zamora. Court will call cause number CR 21-18, CR 16-122, and 16-171. The state of Texas versus George Zamora. 21-18 is for a pretrial, and the other two are on motions to proceed. For those purposes, what say the parties?
Judge, the state's ready on CR 21-018 with regard to the two motions to proceed, CR 16-122 and 171. I have not spoken with Mr. Bandera or Rodriguez with regard to resolution of this case. And so I would just ask or propose that with regard to the two motions to proceed, if we can't resolve them, that they be reset to a contested setting on October 13, because the essential allegation is the cause number 018, which is the new offense.
That'll be fine, Your Honor. And I'll confer with Stephen behind the scenes, I guess,
Sounds
by
great.
email and text.
Okay, do we have any pretrial issues on the 21-18 case?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
None.
Okay, let's just set all three cases for October 13th at 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
see you
you,
back then, Mr. Zamora. Thank you.
Who's my lawyer? I don't even know who my lawyer is.
I'm right here, Mr. Zamora.
Oh, okay. I've been trying to get a hold of y'all, but nobody's ever taken my calls.
Okay. I'll call your family today or tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Y'all have a nice day.
Thanks, Dan. You too.
Looks like Ms. Stewart is next. Has her competency been restored?
I don't believe so, Your Honor. as I sit here right now, I'm not certain that she's even met with whoever you assigned to do the evaluation, but I'll look in the file real quick.
We received the evaluation back on August 16th.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Right, and hasn't been restored to this date.
Is
She
there
was
any
placed
reason, is there any reason to even bring her out?
I wouldn't say there is right now. She was taken into custody at the last court date. But right now, no.
Okay. All right, if you can hear me in the jail, you do not need to bring Miss Stewart out.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do we have I guess, Mr. Harpo, can you follow up and see if we have an order of commitment?
I'll do that right now, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Judge, we don't have one, so I'll prepare one and get it over to Anthony so we can get that to you pronto.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Anthony, Ms. Deering, has she been evaluated yet? Do you know?
I believe she has, but we have not received the report yet. So that's just what we're waiting on.
Well, we'll pull her out and tell her what we're doing then.
Okay, I was gonna say I wasn't sure if we wanted to pull her out or not, but that's where we're at.
You know, it's not going to be real productive, but since we don't actually have a finding of incompetency, let's let her know what's going on.
Sounds good.
And Judge, I just saw that Umberto's in the waiting room.
Under what?
I sent him an email about not being present, and it just says he's in the waiting room. That's all I know.
Can you email him back and ask him what his moniker is? Because I don't
Sure.
have anything in here that matches up.
Okay, I'll do it right now.
Thank you. Ms. Deering, how are you?
I'm fine.
Court will call cause number CR 21-142, the state of Texas versus Amanda Deering. For purposes of pretrial, would say the parties.
State's ready.
It's ready, Your Honor.
Okay, and it's my understanding, counsel, that we're still waiting on the results of the competency exam. Is that correct?
Yes, Your
That's
Honor.
correct. Oh, that's correct, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Deering, just bear with us. We can't do anything until we get the results of that exam. So we're going to reset you for the next pretrial, okay? Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
What's the date of the next pretrial?
October 4th.
October 4th? Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Sorry. There we go. Good afternoon. Court will call cause number CR 21-07, the State of Texas versus Pete Pattison. For purposes of pretrial, would say the parties.
It's ready?
Defense ready, Your Honor.
Do we have any pretrial issues, counsel?
None for the state.
Not at the moment, Your Honor.
You want one more pretrial before we jump on the trial docket?
I would appreciate that.
Okay, let's set a pretrial for October 4th. Mr. Pattison, we'll see you back then. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are you a betting person?
You know,
Because I think I've seen him logged on with an iPhone before.
you would think you would call the clerk's office and go, hey, I'm in the waiting room. You know
Can
what I mean?
somebody tell them?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Court will call cause number CR 2138 and 21172, the State of Texas versus Cody Wisecarver. Let's start out with 172 for purposes of arraignment. Mr. Welch, have you had an opportunity to go through the indictment with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Are the personal identifiers true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
I believe so.
Does your client desire to have the indictment read in open court?
We do not, Your Honor, and we'd like to enter a plea of not guilty.
Thank you. Court will enter a scheduling order that will match up with your other case so that we're on the same scheduling order with both cases. For purposes of 21-38 on pretrial, do we have any pretrial issues to address?
None from the state.
None from the defense, Your Honor. I would like the court to know there is that comp eval pending. Doctor is aware that he's in custody, so I anticipate that it'll be done fairly soon.
You know when Lisa Watts was notified of the competency exam?
I just had it up. Let me see.
You know if she's completed the competency exam?
She has not completed the competency exam. No,
Has she interviewed your client at all?
I don't believe so. No, and part of that was he was not in custody at that time, so I was having trouble getting in contact with her myself. When I did get in contact with her, Mr. Wisecarver was not in custody, but since he's been placed in custody, she's been notified. So that's why I say that I anticipate she will get that done soon. She has been responsive to me, but we haven't got it done yet.
If you would, please follow up with her and just try to get her to give you some kind of commitment on when she can get the exam done.
Okay.
If she can't give you a commitment or she tells you it's going to be an extended time out, And if you would, please get with Mr. Harpold and maybe we can get another order appointing and go a different route. There's
Okay.
no reason for your client to just sit there while we're waiting on the exam.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Mr. Wise Carver, we will see you back on October 4th. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You need to go.
Okay.
Stephen, have you received any response back from Saldana on which phone is his?
I have not. I just was checking again. No response yet.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't want to be the guy at the judicial conference that they show as an example of why you don't start opening windows. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Court will call cause number CR 19-246, the state of Texas versus Kevin Shannon. For purposes of a 2801, what say the parties? Do
State's ready.
It's ready, Your Honor.
we have any lab results?
We do.
Do we have any announcements or motions then?
Nothing from
Not
the
at
state,
this-
Your Honor.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
All right, our next scheduled appearance before the court is October 4th. If you're out on bond, it'll be at 8:30 in the morning. If you're not, we'll see you in the afternoon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good to go.
Thank you. I think I need 3 files. Shortchange. Ms. Daly, it looks like you're up next with Ms. Hill.
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge, Mr. Saldana reports, I'm using a different phone. It may show up as Law Office Saldana. Not sure.
Nope.
That's what I thought.
Do this, Stephen. Tell him to log, if you can email him back, tell him to log off and then log back on and I'll watch for which one pops up.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Ms. Hill.
Hello.
Court will call cause number CR 2132 and 33 and 153. Each of them styled the state of Texas versus Kimberly Hill. Let's start out with CR 21-153 for purposes of arraignment. What say the parties?
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Have you had an opportunity to go through the indictment with your client?
I believe Mr. Welch did. I did not.
Mr. Welch, do you want to jump in on this part?
Yeah, I believe so, and all the identifiers are correct.
Thank you. And I don't know who's going to answer the next question, but does your client desire to have the indictment read in open court?
We did not need the indictment read in open court. We enter a plea of not guilty.
Thank you. Okay, and we'll enter a scheduling order on this one that matches the other two. Now, for purposes of the other two cases, do we have any pretrial issues on either 32 or 33?
None from the state.
None from defense, Your Honor.
All right, our next scheduled appearance is October 4th. So we'll see you back on October 4th, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Good afternoon. Court will call cause number CR 21-143, the state of Texas versus Michael Mitchum. For purposes of pretrial, let's say the parties.
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Do we have any pretrial issues, counsel?
None from the state.
None from the defense at this time, Judge.
All right, it looks like our next scheduled appearance before the court is October 4th for a 2801 hearing. So we'll see you back on October 4th, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Court will call cause number CR 21-137, 138, and 162. State of Texas versus Nathan Silva. For purposes of pretrial, let's say the parties.
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Do we have any pretrial issues, counsel?
None from the state.
None from the defense at this time, Judge.
All right, it looks like our next scheduled appearance is on October 4th. And give me 1 second. All three cases are set for a 2801 on October 4th. So we'll see you back on October 4th. Thank you.
Permission to speak, Your Honor.
Mr. Black?
Mr. Black, are we able to address what we discussed on Friday?
No, Nathan, not at this time.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Noon.
Court will call cause number CR 19-214, State of Texas versus Dennis Giddings. For purposes of pretrial, what say the parties?
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Do we have any pretrial issues, counsel?
None from the state.
None from the defense at this time, Judge.
Okay, my docket notes indicate that we're supposed to set a trial date today. Have y'all had a chance to talk about it?
We haven't conferred on that, Your Honor, but the state's amenable to whatever the court desires.
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Black?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, Mr. Black and I have been conferring on that case.
Sorry.
And no problem. I think we need to set it for a trial, and I have some things I need to follow up with that Mr. Black brought to my attention. So we did have a meeting. Right, Mr. Black?
Yes, we did. Yes. I
Okay.
agree, Judge, and
Then-
that's fine.
Okay, let's set it for a pretrial on November 15th and trial on November 16th. And if you need something in between, Mr. Black, just let the DA's office know.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you all.
Thank you, Black.
You bet.
Which one?
iPhone.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Schindler.
Sir, how are you doing?
Good. Court will call cause number CR 21-52, 53, and 54. The State of Texas versus Scott Schindler for purposes of pretrial. What say the parties?
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Do we have any pretrial issues to address, counsel?
None from the state.
None from the defense, Judge. However, I would like to say that I've been speaking with Ben about this case, these cases, and we do have an offer on the table. I was only able to communicate to my client today. And so I was going to get back together with him later. And we were going to make a decision, maybe not today, but certainly this week. So with that said, we don't have any issues.
Okay, let's do this then. Let's set another pretrial on October 4th. And that way it'll give you an opportunity to plea instead of jumping straight on the trial docket if that's what you decide to do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll see you back on October 4th. Thank you, sir. Thank you. If you can hear me in the jail, after Christopher Raina, let's go back and reinsert Crystal Anderson.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Judge, on this next case, James Fanning, I don't think we've received a competency evaluation back on him since I requested one.
I don't have one in the file, but that doesn't mean y'all didn't, you didn't get it. But Mr. Harpold, have you seen one?
I'm looking right now, Judge.
Wasn't supposed to have the report to us until the end of the month.
I don't see one, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court will call cause number CR 17, 16, and 17, State of Texas versus James Fanning. For purposes of pretrial, let's say the parties.
State's ready.
Judge, the defense really isn't ready until we get a competency evaluation back on my client.
All right, the court's files do not reflect that we have received that yet. And let's go ahead and reset for October 4th. Mr. Fanning, have you had somebody come talk to you about your competency exam yet?
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Nobody's come to the jail and interviewed you?
no.
Mr. Black, can you follow up on that for us, please?
Yes, sir, I will. I sure will, Judge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had the doctor came and talked to us.
Okay.
There's a doctor.
Dr. Woods, does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're just waiting on his report. So hopefully we'll have it before next time we're in court, okay?
All right.
Thank you,
Sounds
Mr.
good.
Fanning.
Thank you. Thanks, Fanning.
Judge, on this next case, Ms. Story, I got an offer on Friday, and my client accepted it late this morning after court in our first session. So that'll be a plea at the next opportunity that the court has to enter a plea.
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am. Court will call cause number CR 19-196, the State of Texas versus Laura Story. For purposes of a 2801 hearing, what say the parties?
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Do we have any announcements or motions for purposes of the 2801?
None from the state.
From the defense, Judge, we've accepted a plea offer made by the state, and we ask that this case be set for that plea at the court's earliest opportunity.
I would say get with Mr. Harpold and see when you can get the documents and how quickly you can squeeze it on.
All right,
I sent an email, David.
okay.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Story, we'll see you back for a plea as quickly as we can get you back into court.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No, you said Raina, you meant the bottom one or? Chris?
No, right here,
Okay.
because parents aren't here.
Oh, okay.
So good afternoon.
Rodriguez Reyna?
Thank you. Court will call cause number CR 20-154, 179, 203, and then CR 21-90 and 91, the state of Texas versus Christopher Rodriguez Reyna. Let's start out with 203, 90, and 91 for purposes of arraignment. What say the parties?
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Have you had an opportunity to go through the indictments with your client?
Yes, sir, I have.
Are the identifiers true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir, they are.
Does your client desire to have the indictment read in open court?
No, sir, we waive formal reading of the indictment, both of them, and we'll enter a plea of not guilty in both cases.
Thank you. The court will make the scheduling orders on those three cases match the other two so that we're all running at the same time.
Thank you.
On CR 2179 and 2154, we have any pretrial issues to address today?
None from the state.
None from the defense.
All right, Mr. Rainey, it looks like your next scheduled appearance before the court will be October 4th. So we'll see you back then. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to bounce back.
That looks like it does it for me, Judge. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Thank you, David. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Saldana, you're up next.
Judge, and apologies to the court. I didn't think about being on a different phone and y'all not being able to recognize me. I'm sorry for that.
That's okay. I just wasn't gonna let in an unknown phone, if you know what I mean.
Understood.
Court will call cause number CR 20-185 and 21-105, State of Texas versus Crystal Anderson. For purposes of pretrial, what say the parties?
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Do we have any pretrial issues to address?
None from the state.
Judge, I had done a motion for release of Crystal Anderson. I was hoping that that could be taken up at this time.
That's fine with me, Judge.
Mr. Saldana, you're up.
Your Honor, Ms. Anderson has remained incarcerated some 90 plus days. We're just asking that a reasonable bond be set or that a PR bond be set in our two cases. And that's our position. We're not doing this for any other reason that we think that she's entitled for a bond. And we're asking for a reasonable bond or a PR bond, Your Honor.
Mr. Harpole?
Judge, I would just remind the court that Ms. Anderson was formally indicted on both of these cases and released on bond after she was indicted. She was out on bond for some time period before this court in May, I believe specifically May 17th, revoked her bond because of issues with her compliance with her bond conditions. So that's where she sits before the court. This isn't I don't believe this is a 17.151 issue. I believe it's more of a 17.09 where you have the right to manage issues with regard to her bond compliance. So really, from the state's perspective, you have every right to keep her in custody as you see fit. And to that end, I think it's to her benefit to remain in custody.
Mr. Saldana?
Your Honor, I believe that there's a plea offer imminent. And as I guess was stated in the previous hearing, Ms. Anderson had stated that her dad is still experiencing some medical issues. She'd like to be with him before, God forbid, something tragic would happen to him. So she's asking and pleading with the court that she will abide by any and all conditions that you may set as part of this bond, but she's asking for a bond to be released so that she can consummate the deal from the state, also so that she can seek rehabilitation on her own. And Judge, you could put on there GPS monitor, whatever you feel is necessary. But I do feel that we're close to having a deal worked out with the state for what it's worth. She's been there over, I would say, almost 120 days, Judge, since May. And we're just asking for an opportunity to right the previous wrongs that Ms. Henderson understands that she made. She does come from a different space and different time frame. And I believe that she's really learned from her past experiences what to do and what not to do and who to associate with and who not to associate with. So with that being said, Judge, we would sure appreciate any bond being set on this case, on these two cases. Doesn't have to be a PR bond. Whatever it would be, Ms. Anderson, you would not have an issue with her compliance with that bond, with those two bonds.
Mr. Harpole, anything else?
No, Judge, I stand by what I stated.
Without more information before the court at this time is going to deny the motion to reinstate the bond. And we will see you back on October 4th, if not before. Thank you.
Judge, I believe that's all I have today. May I be excused?
You may. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. And again, sorry for the problems up front.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can you hear me in the jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can skip Mr. Roach, and when we get down to it, you can skip Mr. Smith because Mr. Parent's in trial in Kendall County.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Would you like to skip Mr. Johnny Reyna also?
Yes. Thank
Yes,
you.
Your Honor.
While we're on that subject, Judge, I would just remind you that his client from this morning, and I'm just drawing a blank on his name, Parent.
McGinnis?
Yes, sir. He was I told him to show up at 1:30.
He may be there. I have an unknown cell phone.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Mr. McGinnis is sitting in here in the library.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Rudd, can we put Mr. McGinnis on real quick?
Sure.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. McGinnis. You're before the court today on cause number CR 1866 and CR 19110. Your attorney is currently in the middle of a trial in Kendall County. So what we're going to do is reset you for October 4th at 8:30 a.m.
Yes, sir. And I'll get a setting form from a clerk here.
You will. If you'll walk over toward the courtroom door, they're going to head out that direction and you guys can meet somewhere in between.
Very well, very well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
See you later.
Good afternoon, Mr. Carrion.
There.
Court will call cause number CR 21-149, 150, 151, and 152. The state of Texas versus Gilbert. Carry on. For purposes of pretrial, let's say the parties.
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
Do we have any pretrial issues to address, counsel?
None from the state.
None from us at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Carrion, it looks like your next scheduled appearance before the court is October 4th. If you're out on bond, it'll be at 8:30 in the morning. If you're not, we'll see you in the afternoon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And it looks like Mr. Frankie is not going to join us. Is that correct?
That's correct. Ellison had a conflict, and so it was reset to October 4th.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Beedman. Give me just a minute to get organized here.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you. Ready, Paul? Court will call cause number CR 17-142 and CR 2142. The state of Texas versus Donald Beedman for purposes of agreed pleas. What say the parties?
State's ready.
Defense is ready.
First document we need to go through in each case is the joint request for plea or sentencing by video conference, which purports to have, looks like the signatures of each of the parties. Mr. Beedman, do you have any objection to proceeding by video conference today?
No, sir.
Thank you. Next document we need to go through in cause number CR 2142 is the 3914 Discovery, Disclosure, and Compliance Form. Purports to have each of your signatures. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, Your Honor.
To the best of your knowledge, has the state received all discovery from law enforcement and forwarded the same to the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
To the best of your knowledge, have you received all discovery?
We have.
CR 17-142, Mr. Beedman, I'm showing you a document entitled Defendant's Plea of True to State's Motion to Proceed.
Yes, sir.
Did you have a chance to go through that document with your attorney?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand that document?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you have the right to have a contested hearing before the court today?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you have the right for your attorney to cross-examine the state's witnesses and to call your own witnesses?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand you have a right to appeal?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you're waiving all three of those rights?
Yes, sir.
In CR 2142, I'm showing you a document entitled Defendant's Plea of Guilt, Waivers, and Admonishments. Did you have a chance to go through that document with your attorney?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you understand that document?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you have a right to a trial by jury?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you have a right for your attorney to cross-examine the state's witnesses and to call your own witnesses?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand you have a right to appeal?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you're waiving all three of those rights today?
Yes, sir.
In addition to that, in both cases, do you understand that you have a right to remain silent? Nobody can require you to testify against yourself, but you can in fact waive that right.
Yes, sir.
In 2142, I'm showing you page 3 of this document. It purports to have your signature in 2 different locations. Is that your signature in both spots?
Yes, sir.
Your second signature appears below a paragraph entitled Judicial Confessions and Stipulations. Do you understand that by signing that paragraph, it's just like you stood up here before the court, raised your hand and said, I did what the state's accused me of doing?
Yes, sir.
Attached to the back of this document is a copy of the grand jury indictment. It purports to have your signature down in the bottom. Is that your signature?
Yes, it is.
And are you asking the court to accept as true and correct this grand jury indictment?
Yes, sir.
CR 17-142, at the top of page 2, it also purports to have your signature. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that by signing the top of page 2 with the stipulation of evidence paragraph at the bottom of page 1, it's just like you stood up here before the court, raised your hand and said, I did what the state's accused me of doing by signing that paragraph?
Yes, sir.
In both cases, do you feel like your client understands his rights, waivers, and admonishments?
I do.
CR 2142, you've been charged with possession with intent to deliver a controlled substance, to wit methamphetamine from 4 to 200 grams. This is a first-degree felony with a range of punishment of 5 to 99 years or up to $10,000 and up to a $10,000 fine. Do you understand that charge and that range of punishment?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how do you plead?
I'll plead true, guilty.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty and for no other reason?
Yes, sir.
And are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir, I am.
Cause number CR 17-142. I'm showing you a document that's been marked as State's Exhibit A. Did you have a chance to go through that document with your attorney?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you understand that document?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand each of the two allegations contained within that document?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading true or not true?
True.
Are you pleading true freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Are you pleading true because they are true and for no other reason?
True.
Are there plea agreements in both cases?
Yes, Your Honor. In CR 17-142, 15 years TDC JID, all remaining balances of fines and fees are still due. And then in 21-042, 15 years confinement, TDC JID, restitution of $180 for the labs. And they run concurrently, and he'll get the jail time as reflected on the judgment.
Mr. Rudkin, is that your understanding of both plea agreements?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Beedman, is that your understanding of both plea agreements?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that plea agreements are agreements between you and the state? They're not binding on the court, but if the court did not accept either one of your plea agreements, you would have the opportunity to withdraw your pleas of guilty, enter pleas of not guilty, and proceed to trial.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And are you asking the court to follow both of your plea agreements?
Please, sir, yes.
And Mr. Rudkin, do you feel like your client's competent and capable of assisting you in preparation for trial in these two cases?
I do, Your Honor.
CR 21-42, the court will find evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to enter a finding of guilt. Pursuant to your plea agreement, will order you confined in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for a period of 15 years. You have restitution in the amount of $180. It'll be concurrent with CR 17-142. You have court costs in the amount of $290, and you have reimbursement fees in the amount of $65. You have jail credit as indicated at the bottom of the judgment, which looks like it's from December 11th of 2020 to December 12th of 2020, and then from December 22nd of 2020 to present. Do you have any questions on the judgment?
No, sir.
CR 17-142, the court will find evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to enter a finding it true to the state's motion to proceed. Pursuant to your plea agreement, will adjudicate you on the underlying offense of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. There's an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon. Will order you confined in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for a period of 15 years. Any remaining balances of fines and fees previously owed are still due. It'll run concurrent with CR 21-42. You have reimbursement fees in the amount of $65. Court cost in the amount of zero. Okay. And you have jail credit at the bottom, which is a whole series of dates, but quite a bit of time. Let me show it to you in case you have any questions.
Yeah, somewhere around about 20 to 22 months. I don't know exactly, but it's.
Do you have any
Your Honor,
questions?
I
I'm
went
sorry.
over all those. I went over all those dates inclusive with Mr. Beedman, and they are correct.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Beedman, do you have any questions on either one of these judgments?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay, the last document we need to go through, which there's one in each case, is a written admonishment on ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Each of these purports to have your signature. Do you understand that you cannot be in possession of a firearm or ammunition?
Yes, sir. In possession, that means on me, right? That doesn't mean that somebody else has them on them. Now, I'm not in possession of them, right? Now, if somebody has it on them, that I'm not reliable for them, right?
I'm going to let you talk to your attorney about that, okay? Because I can't give you legal advice.
Okay,
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Beedman.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, about that firearm. Oh, you muted me.
I'll talk to you about it, Donald,
Okay,
in detail, okay?
okay, thank you, sir.
Anybody left?
Just parents' cases.
Okay. I'm showing we're done except for David Parent's cases and he's in trial. So.
I agree. Looks good.
Correct.
All right. Thank y'all.
We'll see you in the morning.